Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I'm Diana Amerol. Today, we will talk about financial management. We will now focus our attention to solvency ratio. Appreciate the solvency ratio. We will first define what is solvency. Solvency means survival or financial viability. It is the ability of the company to operate indefinitely to the future as a going concern. So what do solvency ratio measures? Measure the ability of an entity to meet long-term obligation when they come due. The word is whether the company will able to pay all or especially the non-current liability. Let us proceed to the solvency ratio formula. We have the debt equity ratio. By the way, the meaning of equity is being fair or impartial. Some of the solvency ratio are given below. Number 1 formula, debt equity ratio, external equity over the internal equity. Number 2, property ratio, shareholders or shareholder funds, total assets. Number 3, interest coverage ratio, EBIT over the fixed interest change. Profitability ratio, ibig sabihin po is profitability means measurement of efficiency and ultimately its success or failure. Profitability ratio help to measure the profitability possession of business concern. Some of the major profitability ratio are given below. Solution: short-term solvency ratios. Current ratio equals current assets divided by current liabilities is equals to 14,000 divided by 6,000 is equals to 2.33 ratio 1. Liquid ratio equals liquid ratio divided by current liabilities equals to 8,000 divided by 6,000 is equals to 1.33 ratio 1. Long-term solvency ratio. Proprietary ratio equals proprietors funds divided by total assets equals 20,000 divided by 40,000 equals to 0. Ratio 1. Proprietors fund shareholders fund equals equity shares capital plus preference share capital plus reserve and surplus equals 10,000 plus 2,000 plus 8,000 is equals to 20,000. Debit equity ratio equals external equities divided by internal equities equals 20,000 divided by 20,000 is equals to 1 ratio 1. Interest coverage ratio equals debit divided by fixed interest charge equals 4,000 plus 840 divided by 840 is equals to 5.7 times. Fixed interest charges is equals to 6% on debentures of 14,000 is equals to 840. Activity ratio. Stock turnover cost of sales divided by average inventories is equals to 51,600 divided by 6,000 is equals to 8.6 times. As there is no opening stock and closing stock is taken as average stock. Debtors turnover ratio is equals to credit sales divided by average debtors equals 60,000 divided by 6,000 is equals to 10 times. In the absence of credit sales and opening debtors, total sales is considered as a credit sale and closing debtors as average debtors. Credit turnover ratio equals credit purchases average divided by average creditors equals 43,200 divided by 1,200 is equals to 36 times. In absence of purchases, cost of goods sold minus gross profit treated as credit purchases. And in the absence of opening creditors, closing creditors are treated as average creditors. Working capital turnover ratio equals sales divided by net working capital equals 60,000 divided by 8,000 is equals to 7.5 times. Profitability ratios. Gross profit ratio is equals to gross profit divided by sales times 100 is equals to 8,400 divided by 60,000 times 100 is equals to 14,000%. Net profit ratio is equals to net profit divided by sales times 100 is equals to 2,000 divided by 60,000 times 100 is equals to 3.33%. In the absence of non-operating income, operating profit ratio is equals to net profit ratio. Return of investment is equals to net profit after tax divided by shareholders fund times 100 is equals to 2,000 divided by 20,000 times 100 is equals to 10%. Sources of financing. Finance is the lifeblood of a business concern because it is interlinked with all activities performed by the business concern. In a human body, if a blood circulation is not proper, body function will stop. Similarly, if the finance not being properly arranged, the business will stop. Arrangement of required finance to each department of business concern is highly complex and it needs careful decision. Quantum of finance may be depending upon the nature and situation of the business concern, but the requirements of the finance may be broadly classified into two parts. Long-term financial requirements or fixed capital requirement. Financial requirements of the business differ from firm to firm and the nature of the requirements on the basis of term. Period financial requirement. It may be long-term and short-term financial requirements. Long-term financial requirements means the finance need to acquire land and building. For business concern, purchase of plant and machinery and other fixed expenditure. Long-term financial requirement is also called as fixed capital requirements. Fixed capital is the capital which is used to purchase the fixed assets of the firm such as land and building, furnitures and fittings, plants and machinery, etc. Hence, it's also called capital expenditure. Short-term financial requirements or working capital requirements. Apart from the capital expenditure of the firm should need certain expenditure like procurement of raw materials, payment of wages, day-to-day expenditure, and etc. This kind of expenditure is to meet with the help of short-term financial requirements which will meet the operational expenditure of the firms. Short-term financial requirements are popularly known as working capital. That's all and thank you. This is the end of my report.